the Lions ready to take the final step toward the Super Bowl? After an almost flawless regular season with a 15-2 record and the best campaign in the NFC, the team suffered a shocking playoff loss to the Washington Commanders. A setback that exposed the need to reinforce certain areas of the team, and one of them might be the pass rush. Even with Aiden Hutchinson, one of the most dominant defenders in the NFL, the injury that sidelined him for the season in Week 7 left a huge hole in the defense. The impact was evident. Without him, the pressure on opposing quarterbacks dropped drastically, and the defense never regained the same intensity. The mid-season trade acquisition of Zadarius Smith helped minimize the problem, but it became clear that if the Lions want to compete for a championship, they need a major reinforcement. And this is where a blockbuster name comes into play: Miles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns star has requested a trade, and while the Browns claim they are not willing to move him, the possibility of him being traded in the coming months is real. If that happens, the Lions need to be ready to make a move. The cost. Detroit has enough assets to make this bold play, with valuable draft picks in 2025, pick 28, and 2026, first round, as well as approximately $46 million in cap space, enough to absorb Garrett's $125 million contract. And even though paying a high price for two elite pass rushers isn't the ideal scenario, the opportunity to pair Garrett and Hutchinson on the same defensive front could turn the Lions into the dominant force in the NFC. Of course, this move would require long-term cap adjustments, but the Super Bowl window is now. If Brad Holmes truly wants to turn the Lions into champions, this could be the decisive move. So, Lions fans, would you make this trade? Do you believe Miles Garrett could be the missing piece to lead Detroit to a title? Leave your comment and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates from Lions News Fan Report. If this trade happens, what would it mean for the Lions defense? Simple. One of the most feared pass rush duos in the NFL. With Miles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson playing together, Detroit would have an explosive tandem capable of terrorizing any opposing quarterback. Imagine facing them on a crucial third down. Opponents would be forced into hurried decisions, increasing the chances of sacks, turnovers, and impactful defensive plays. Moreover, this acquisition wouldn't just benefit the defense. A more efficient pass rush takes pressure off the secondary, reducing the time defensive backs need to cover opposing receivers. With Garrett and Hutchinson collapsing the pocket quickly, even an average coverage unit could look like one of the best in the league. Not to mention the psychological impact. Teams knowing they have to face this duo would adjust their game plans, possibly avoiding deep passes and limiting their offensive strategies. Is the price worth it? Of course, any trade of this magnitude comes with a cost. The Lions would have to give up valuable draft picks, compromising part of the franchise's future. But the question is, does the team need a long-term project or immediate impact to win now? Detroit is no longer in rebuild mode. This team has proven it can compete with the best in the NFL and has already shown it has a talented enough roster to contend for a title. Adding a defender of Garrett's caliber wouldn't be a desperate move, but rather a calculated step to turn the Lions into a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Another factor to consider is the financial impact. Garrett has a hefty $125 million contract, and paying two elite defenders like him and Hutchinson would require salary adjustments in the future. But that concern shouldn't be a deal-breaker when it comes to winning the franchise's first Super Bowl. After all, championship teams make bold decisions, and this could be the perfect move to elevate the Lions to the next level. Should Holmes act now or wait? If Brad Holmes wants to secure an elite defender without giving up draft capital, he could explore the 2025 draft to find a talented pass rusher. But betting on a rookie is always a risk, and few first-year players enter the NFL ready to impact a team at the level Garrett would immediately. Furthermore, Miles Garrett is already an established, dominant player who is used to performing at a high level. There's no adaptation period, no uncertainties. He would arrive in Detroit as an immediate impact player, ready to transform the Lions' defense into one of the league's most feared units. The real question is Brad Holmes willing to go all in to win now? Or will the Lions take a more cautious approach and rely on the development of their young talents? And you, Lions fans, would trading for Miles Garrett be the right move for Detroit to finally win the long-awaited Super Bowl? Now, speaking as a Lions fan, this trade would be a bold but absolutely necessary move. Detroit has already proven to have one of the strongest rosters in the NFL, but something was missing in the playoffs, a defense that instilled fear in opponents. The loss to the Commanders showed that when the pass rush doesn't reach the opposing quarterback, the defense becomes vulnerable. And if we truly want to win now, we can't rely solely on Hutchinson. Miles Garrett is a game changer. He's not just an excellent pass rusher, he's a superstar, a player who, alongside Hutchinson, could form the best defensive duo in the NFL. It would be a nightmare for any quarterback to face the Lions knowing that on one side there's Garrett and on the other, Hutchinson. Of course, the cost of this trade would be high. We'd have to give up at least a first-round pick and manage the salary cap impact. But tell me this, when have the Lions been this close to a Super Bowl? The window of opportunity is open, and if we don't seize it now, we could end up like many franchises that always get close but never make it. If Brad Holmes truly believes this team can be a champion, he has to act now. A dominant defense could be the difference between another disappointing playoff exit and lifting the Vince Lombardi trophy for the first time in franchise history. And if this trade really happens, what can we expect from the Detroit Lions next season? If Miles Garrett puts on the blue and silver jersey, the Lions will enter the season as one of the top contenders in the NFC. Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers are still the teams to beat, but imagine a squad that retained its explosive offense and strengthened a defense that was already good but needed more firepower in the pass rush. That would be a Detroit Lions team ready to compete at the highest level. Garrett's presence wouldn't just impact the defensive line but the entire defense. With him and Hutchinson pressuring opposing quarterbacks, the Lions' secondary, which already features talented players like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, would have less responsibility in deep coverage since QBs would have less time to throw the ball. This could turn a unit that was vulnerable in the playoffs into one of the most secure in the NFC. Additionally, having two superstar pass rushers would completely change how opposing offensive coordinators game plan against Detroit. Trying to contain two elite pass rushers simultaneously is a nightmare for any offensive line, leading to more sacks, more turnovers, and consequently, more victories for the Lions. And we can't ignore the indirect impact this trade would have on the Lions' offense. Jared Goff has already proven he can lead this team to big wins, but we know he plays his best football when he's not under constant pressure to score every drive. If the Lions' defense improves significantly, Goff won't have to carry the team in tight games, resulting in fewer mistakes and more controlled play. This would also benefit David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who could wear down opposing defenses and control the clock in crucial matchups. If the Lions really want to take the next step, this is the move to make. The playoff loss was a lesson. Having a talented team isn't enough if it can't dominate in crucial moments. Miles Garrett might be the missing piece to finally bring the first Vince Lombardi trophy to Detroit. Now, I want to hear from you, Lions fans. Would you make this trade? Or do you think it's better to keep the roster intact and trust the draft?